Good morning, students. Welcome to yet another session of computers. We are doing the chapter History of Computers. In today's class, we are going to cover the topic called Generations of Computer. The generation in computer terminology is a change in technology. Initially, the generation term was used to distinguish between the development in the hardware field. But nowadays, the generation includes the development both in the field of hardware as well as software, which together make up an entire computer system. This development in the field of technology, in the field of computers, is basically divided into 5 time zones, which are known as computer generations, namely first, second, third, fourth, and fifth generation computers. The first generation computers are the computers which got developed during the time period 1946 to 1959. The main processing part, the main processing component of the computer was built up by using vacuum tubes. The second generation computer, the time period was 1959 to 1965, and the main processing component was transistor. The third generation computer, the time period 1965 to 1971, and the main processing component of the computer was built by using integrated circuits. The fourth generation computer, the time period 1971 to 1980, and the main processing component was made up of VLSI microprocessor chip. The fifth generation, the ongoing generation, the computers which got developed from 1980 onwards, and the technology which was used to make the main processing component of the computer is ULSI microprocessor. Now let's discuss about all these generations in little detail. The first generation computers were very bulky in size. The main processing component was built up by using vacuum tube technology. You can see the images of vacuum tubes here. They were very much like a small electrical bulb. The computers which were made by using vacuum tube technology, they all are regarded as the first generation computer. Those computers were very much unreliable. They could support only the machine language for doing the programming. The computers were very costly and used to generate a lot of heat. The processing device, the input-output device, they all were very slow in comparison to today's computer. They were very huge in size, need a very strong AC, consume a lot of electricity, and they were non-portable due to their huge size. Let's see the images of first generation computer. In these images, can you see there are a lot of tower-like structures here? These are actually making a small part of the computer. So you can very well imagine what will be the actual size of a computer. The second generation computer. During second generation computer, the main processing component got replaced from vacuum tubes to transistors. These transistors were very much smaller than the vacuum tubes. They are of the size of a small board pin. Due to the use of transistors, the computer size became very much smaller in comparison to the first generation computer. They became more reliable in comparison to the first generation computer. They used to generate less heat and used to consume less electricity. They were much faster than the first generation computer, but they were still very costly. But along with the machine language, the second generation computer also supported assembly language for doing the coding and programming. These are few of the images of second generation computers. These are the transistors, which actually made the main processing part of the computer, the basic components. In this computer, can you see the magnetic tapes over here, which used to work as an input device as well as the storage device? Now let's go to the third generation computer. During third generation, the transistors got replaced by integrated circuits, the IC chips. The IC chips were very small in size and they could replace thousands of transistors. So obviously the size of the computer became much more smaller. The computers became very much faster. They used to generate less amount of heat and they were very much reliable in comparison to the previous two generations. The maintenance cost was very less, but still the computers were costly. And the third generation computer also started supporting the high level language like C, COBOL, Fortran for doing the programming and for the development of different softwares. These are few examples, a few images of third generation computer. The basic structure of a third generation computer is very much similar to the modern day computer, where there is a screen, a CPU box, and a keyboard. During third generation, there was no graphical user interface, means no multimedia, and no mouse. During third generation, the magnetic tapes got replaced by the thin and small floppy disks, which were used as the storage device. The next is fourth generation computer. During this time, there was a huge advancement in the field of technology. And finally, the IC chips got replaced by a very strong, very powerful VLSI chips, also known as microprocessor chips. Due to the use of VLSI technology, the computer became much more smaller, much faster, with tremendous processing capacity, and the cost of computer also become very less. They become more reliable, portable. No AC was required. If you are working on a single computer, you don't require an AC. During this time, the concept of internet was also got introduced. These computers supported most of the high-level language for doing coding and programming. The computers become very easily available, and in the business sector, most of the businesses start using computer for doing their business activity. This is how a fourth generation computer look like, very much like the modern day computer, where there is a CPU, a screen, a mouse, and a keyboard. Different kind of storage devices got introduced during this time. The concept of multimedia, graphical user interface were also introduced during this time only. Fifth generation computer, or we can call it modern computers. These computers are actually based on ULSI technology, which make this computer very powerful. During this time, the concept of artificial intelligence came into existence. Most of the languages which are used for doing coding and programming are very much similar to the natural languages, which made coding and programming much more easier than the earlier times. The computer became more and more user-friendly with the introduction of multimedia, graphic user interface, multitasking environment, and the computer become very cheap. And computer become easily available, so that in every sector, in every field of our life nowadays, we are using some or other kind of computer. All the different kind of computers which are available nowadays, whether it's a desktop, a laptop, a tab, a smartphone, they all fall under the category of fifth generation computer. This is the generation which is going on with day in and day out new advancement in the field of hardware technology as well as in the field of software, which result in the continuous development of the computers. I hope you enjoyed this journey of computers. Thank you.